Mr. Noonan, is there any reason why bilingual education is still necessary if people who come to the school system already with a different language from their homes now are learning English in the schools? Why do the schools now have to teach bilingually anymore?
Well, I think the issue is one that's flexibility to all districts in the state of California. Districts can pick their way to go through it. However, the new law, 227, clearly mandates that instruction be provided in English and almost overwhelmingly in English. We took that law and applied it very literally, and we've seen great success. Yes, there are other things that have gone on. Reducing class size in grades 1 and 2 in our district, also moving to a strong phonics program has helped all children in our district. All of our scores have gone up. But clearly, 227 was catalytic. It was a catalyst for our district, at least, and showed us that these children could progress in English far earlier than we had anticipated. So the worth of a program such as bilingual education becomes really something that's very personal, and I think something that each district has to examine.
Mr. Noonan, let's talk about these tests for a moment. We know there is always controversy about standardized tests. Are these tests an adequate measure about whether these students are actually learning English or whether they're just learning how to take tests?
Well, I think they're adequate in the sense that they really do test the spectrum. It's reading, writing, and math, and it's science, and other subjects will be added. The tests are pretty comprehensive and fairly broad. Some people don't like norm tests, but I think this gives us a pretty clear measure. The tests are in English, so it's also a test of how well the children can understand the problem and provide a solution.
How about that, Mr. McLaughlin? These tests?
Well, the tests are again, a snapshot in time, and we're just in our infancy in this high-stakes testing in California. And it's shown, at least research I've seen, that as a new test is administered, the results do increase in the first few years as teachers now understand what is expected to be tested, and the curriculums are aligned to that test. And yes, test results increase. They do. So, but that is not the only measure. I mean, communities, as Ken said, should have the opportunity to choose the outcomes that they want. If reading English and speaking English is the sole outcome, that's one thing. But if we want to go beyond that and talk about reducing or eliminating the achievement gap or having students have access to more than one language, then that perhaps is another desire.
Does the current law allow that kind of flexibility, in your opinion?
Oh, yes, it does. The current law does allow for waivers. There are many successful bilingual programs thriving in the state of California through the waiver process that the parents are allowed to opt in, and they're doing very, very well. I agree with Ken that this was catalytic, and I commend Unz for doing this. It put the spotlight on a very severe need that we have all over the nation, and that in itself has energized us all to find solutions to this problem, and that is in the best interest of all the students.
How do we know that part of the solution wasn't the class size that Mr. Noonan mentioned, or wasn't the phonics education that he mentioned? How do you measure that against the English immersion program?
No, and I think that's what the state officials are talking about, that it's really a little early to make a judgment that yes, because of Proposition 227, therefore, all the students are going to learn to speak English sooner, faster, and so forth. They're saying we need time to study this, and that's what I'd recommend. It seems to be accelerating to a national issue, so maybe we ought to have a national study of this, similar to the Collier-Thomas 14-year study on bilingual education that had some very significant results. Let's elevate this to a research level, not take tools out of teachers' hands that may be good for kids, and really come to some conclusions rather than make it a political football.
How about that, Mr. Noonan? Is this something that can be measured on a national level, or is this something which can only be measured district to district, state to state?
Doing it at a national level would be fine, but I think, and I agree with Jack, that needs to be done. However, I think the issue is that we're at a critical stage in California, probably in the nation. We need to move our children, our Latino children, into the English mainstream as quickly as possible, because the language of success in this country is English. And unless we do that, these children will not see the success that others have. In our case, we have seen children moving from Spanish to English, coming to almost grade level in reading within 2 years, which used to take 5 to 6 years by teaching children to read first in Spanish and then in English. I think there is a place for research, but we don't have time to wait. We need action. Our children must be brought into the English mainstream as quickly as we can do that.
It sounds like you're saying that the traditional method of bilingual education, which is teaching children in lower grades in their own language and then eventually bringing them into English, should be set aside now in favor of this way of doing it in California.
What I'm saying is people should not be afraid of it, that it works well, and they should take a close look at it as something they should use in their district.
How about that, Mr. McLaughlin? Is this something that Arizona and California, which now are taking this up next in their own initiatives, is this something that they ought to act on based on the California experience?
You know, I still really have a problem with taking a tool out of the teacher's hand. It's like telling an art teacher that you can teach art, but you can't use the color red. You know, if in fact the ability to speak another language will help a student learn not only English but the whole learning curriculum, then why should we take that out of a teacher's hand? I can't think of another teaching technique that has been eliminated by the voters. I don't know of another one. It's like in the beginning of the century when you could only learn if you were right-handed. So all the left-handers were forced to write right-handed. I mean, it's very comparable to me. Why take a tool that can be used out of a teacher's hand, especially with the high-stakes accountability and testing we have? We're accountable for results. Why should it matter how we get to those results? Because we are held accountable to the results. And if we need to teach bilingually, then allow us to teach bilingually.
Mr. Noonan and Mr. McLaughlin, thank you very much. I imagine California, as usual, starting a national debate. Thank you.
Thanks.